In today's rapidly changing world, the balance of power is under pressure like never before. NATO, a powerful military alliance formed in the aftermath of World War II, has long been the backbone of Western security and influence. Over the decades, it expanded its reach, shaping global politics far beyond its original borders. But now, another force is rising. What began as an economic partnership of emerging economies has evolved into a powerful group seeking to reshape the world order, BRICS. While NATO represents the established powers of the West, BRICS symbolizes a shift toward a multipolar world where influence is more widely shared. As BRICS nations grow stronger, their actions, whether through military strength, economic initiatives, or political alliances, are starting to challenge the systems and values that NATO has defended for decades. This growing rivalry, though not always open or direct, is quietly building tension across continents, setting the stage for a new era of global competition. So let us now know what kind of BRICS countries can cause a lot of trouble to NATO. Starting with Russia, the situation is already very clear. Russia's history with NATO has been tense ever since the Cold War. After the Soviet Union collapsed, there were moments of hope that Russia and NATO could work together. But as NATO expanded eastward, bringing in former Soviet states like Poland, Latvia, and Estonia, Russia's trust quickly eroded. Moscow viewed NATO's expansion as a betrayal of promises allegedly made after the Cold War. The real turning point came in 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea from Ukraine. NATO responded by increasing its military presence in Eastern Europe, and relations completely broke down. Then, in 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. This led to massive Western sanctions, a united NATO front, and even expansion of NATO with new members like Finland and Sweden. From Moscow's perspective, NATO is not just a military alliance, it is an existential threat. And from NATO's perspective, Russia is the biggest direct military challenge it faces today. As long as the Ukraine war continues and Russia pursues an aggressive foreign policy, tensions between Russia and NATO are likely to remain high or even escalate. Number 2. China. Moving to China, the situation becomes even more complex. While Russia's tension with NATO is open and direct, China's challenge is more strategic and long-term. China is not located near NATO's traditional borders, but its actions are reshaping global power in a way that alarms NATO members. Over the past 2 decades, China's rise as an economic and military superpower has been rapid. It has the world's largest army, a fast-growing navy, and advanced missile systems. Beyond military strength, China is using economic tools like the Belt and Road Initiative to spread its influence across Asia, Africa, and even parts of Europe. Tensions between China and the West have been rising steadily. One of the biggest flashpoints is the South China Sea, where China has built artificial islands and military bases, claiming almost the entire sea as its own, despite international rulings against it. This area is crucial because a huge percentage of global trade passes through it. The United States, along with NATO allies like the UK and France, have conducted freedom of navigation operations there to challenge China's claims, leading to multiple military standoffs. Another major point of conflict is Taiwan. China sees Taiwan as a breakaway province and has not ruled out using force to bring it under Beijing's control. Meanwhile, NATO countries, especially the United States, have been increasing their support for Taiwan, sending weapons and military advisors. A crisis over Taiwan would almost certainly draw in NATO members, either politically, economically, or militarily, creating direct confrontation with China. China is also challenging NATO members in the technology and cyber fields. Accusations of cyber attacks, intellectual property theft, and espionage against Chinese companies like Huawei have further worsened relations. NATO officially named China as a systemic challenge in its 2022 strategic concept document, a major shift, as NATO had previously focused almost entirely on Russia. At the same time, China is strengthening ties with countries that have difficult relations with NATO, including Russia, Iran, and even North Korea. Through strategic partnerships and joint military exercises, China is building a network that can resist Western pressure. While China is not openly seeking military conflict with NATO, its actions in different regions, from Asia to Africa to cyberspace, are creating friction points that could erupt into bigger tensions in the future. China's strategy is different from Russia's. It's slower, more calculated, but potentially even more destabilizing over time. While Russia uses direct military force, China is reshaping global systems quietly, through trade, technology, and strategic influence. And in doing so, it is forcing NATO to prepare for challenges far beyond Europe, stretching the alliance's focus and resources in ways it hasn't had to deal with before. Number 3. India. India's role is more complex. India is a member of BRICS, but it also maintains good relations with many NATO countries, especially the United States, France, and the United Kingdom. However, India follows a policy of strategic autonomy. It doesn't formally align with any military bloc. India has grown closer to the West through forums like the Quad, which includes the US, Japan, and Australia, aiming to counterbalance China's influence in the Indo-Pacific. However, India still buys a large portion of its military equipment from Russia and has refused to criticize Russia openly for its invasion of Ukraine. India's independent foreign policy means that while it is unlikely to create direct tension with NATO, it could complicate NATO's efforts to isolate Russia and manage China's rise. If India continues strengthening its partnerships in Asia without fully aligning with the West, it may create diplomatic headaches for NATO's future strategy. Number 4. Brazil. When it comes to Brazil, the situation is different, but still important. Brazil is not a military rival to NATO the way Russia is, and it's not a global challenger like China. However, Brazil plays a more subtle role in creating political tensions, especially in the way it questions the Western-dominated global system. Brazil has long pushed for a more multipolar world where power is not concentrated in Washington, Brussels, or London, but shared more equally among different regions. Under various governments, Brazil has often taken independent positions on global issues, refusing to simply follow the West's lead. For example, Brazil has been critical of NATO's military interventions, such as in Libya, where a NATO-led mission ended up destabilizing the region. Brazil has also been vocal about the need to reform major global institutions like the United Nations Security Council, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund, arguing that these bodies are outdated and unfairly controlled by Western countries. In recent years, Brazil's foreign policy has leaned toward greater cooperation with China and Russia through BRICS. It has supported calls for de-dollarization, reducing the world's dependence on the US dollar, and has participated in BRICS initiatives to create alternative financial systems outside Western control. Although Brazil is not seeking direct military confrontation with NATO, its political and economic actions weaken Western influence globally and could complicate NATO's broader strategic goals, especially in Latin America and the global South. In addition, Brazil's growing ties with countries under US sanctions, its criticism of Western narratives on global conflicts, and its active promotion of South-South cooperation show that it is more than just a silent partner in BRICS. It is a voice challenging the idea that Western countries alone should set the rules for everyone else. Our last country is South Africa. South Africa also plays a quieter but important role in the dynamic between BRICS and NATO. As Africa's most developed economy, South Africa is a crucial voice in representing the global South. South Africa has participated in joint military exercises with Russia and China, signaling its willingness to challenge the Western security framework. Moreover, South Africa's government has often criticized NATO's interventions in countries like Libya, accusing the alliance of overreach and destabilization. While South Africa's military capability is limited compared to NATO standards, its diplomatic weight and its influence in African regional organizations make it an important player. South Africa's position strengthens BRICS' ability to push back against Western narratives and offers political support to countries like Russia and China in international forums. While BRICS as a group does not currently operate as a formal military alliance like NATO, several of its members, especially Russia and China, are actively creating tensions that challenge NATO's influence. Russia's open hostility, China's global rise, India's independent stance, Brazil's diplomatic moves, and South Africa's soft resistance all contribute in different ways to reshaping global politics. The growing coordination within BRICS could make the world more multipolar, reducing the dominance of NATO and its Western allies. Whether these tensions lead to open conflict or a new balance of power will depend on how both sides, NATO and BRICS, navigate the complex road ahead.